Hello everyone, this is Cody Lee of BlackCatBooks.org, author of I, the Dragon, Cool and Beautiful, Rabbit Hole, King Dia, Lauren Frey, and the upcoming Mouth of the Dragon. So, Platinum Games has released their newest masterpiece, Babylon's Fall. It's one of the lowest rated games that Square Enix has ever produced. Let's see, let me check my Discord. Yeah, it's like a user score 2.7. Which is, I think, is more reliable than the Metacritic score of 41. This game is awful. I could have told you that from like the trailer alone that they showed last year. Everyone thought it looked bad. It has none of like the flair that Platinum is known for. It looks completely soulless. It has like all these. I think it was like a games as a service game. I don't really remember anything about this one, but the long and short of it is that like Platinum Games has produced another flop in a long line of flops. Like I don't think they produced anything of value since like Astral Train, and that was like what, 2019, and before that like Star Fox Zero, right? Like nothing since then has done well. Like they are a studio that is clearly on the decline, but most people aren't acknowledging or really talking about it. At least not yet. There are a couple of rumblings in the game community regarding like the situation at Platinum. I'm always hearing people about like developers jumping ship and like the possibility of them being acquired by Nintendo and just all sorts of things like that. That might throat. Blah. But the thing that really the thing that really strikes me personally in regards to the Platinum Games situation is how, like, Hideki Kamiya, who 10 years ago was revered as, like, an all-time great game god, right? The developer of classics like Resident Evil 2, Okami, Bayonetta. Like, this guy was behind some of the best cult classic games of the late 90s and early 2000s. Like, this guy was the shit. And it feels like ever since Scalebound was canceled, Hideki Kamiya has kind of slowly lost his reputation. He slowly started stagnating and slowly started becoming irrelevant, like more known for his like ridiculous tweets and his ridiculous opinions rather than like his games, right? Like, it comes off like the same thing with Kojima, right? Like, it feels like every time that one of these developers gets in the public eye and starts, like, talking shit on the internet, they, like, immediately go downhill. Like, it happened with Kojima. I'm sure it happened with, I think Inafune might be a good example, the Mega Man guy. And now it's happening with Kamiya because he hasn't produced anything. Like his studio, the studio that he helped found, that he clearly has a strong involvement in, it's circling the drain, and he's done absolutely nothing. Like I've talked about this before, but Platinum Games has made several poor decisions over the past couple of years. Right, the Wonderful 101 port, awful decision. Like self-publishing it, they really seem to think that like if they release this game with more power on more consoles, it would do better. Wrong. Not only did it run terribly on everything, it bombed harder than it did on Wii U. The only audience for this shit was on Nintendo platforms, and they refused to acknowledge it. The DLC never came out. Kickstarter backers were promised original DLC for the Wonderful 101. It still has not come out. Like Bayonetta 3 has been in development hell for forever, right? All the other, like Project JG, we haven't heard a peep out of it since like early 2020, like when I showed that initial concept trailer. Like, where are these games? Like if it was any other company, I think people would be talking about this more. But because it's Platinum Games, like people have kind of deluded themselves and thinking, oh man, they're taking so much time with it because they want quality. Bayonetta 2 came out like 5 years after the original. All right. Now, it wasn't as good as the original. I like kind of sucked balls actually, but it came out within a reasonable time frame of the original, despite being canceled right initially, despite being revived by Nintendo. Like Bayonetta 2 came out like within a reasonable time frame. Bayonetta 3 was announced in 2017. And it's 2022! Like, if it doesn't come out this year, it'll have been longer since the game was announced than when the sequel, the first sequel came out after the original game. Like, it's unbelievable. It is downright unbelievable just how people aren't really addressing this. But it's slowly started becoming mainstream because of commentators like me, people like other people in the community who have been like following along with this. People who have been like casually like observing this, like it's obvious by like the statements that presidents, the executives give, by like the way Kamiya acts, by like interviews. These people are nearing bankruptcy. Like, they are an extremely poorly run company for like at an executive level. They've been making nothing but bad decisions, I think, since they ended the Sega partnership. That 4-game contract where they produced like Bayonetta, Mad World, Anarchy Reigns, and Infinite Space. Like, they've had a handful of lucky breaks with Metal Gear Rising and Nier Automata, but for the most part, like, they haven't been able to establish themselves. Like, they haven't been able to do anything, and they flopped with like There was that brief period in time, like in 2015, like to 2017, where like they were producing all these Activision games based on like properties they owned, and that fell flat because they put the C team on that. Like they didn't produce like the quality that Activision and those companies wanted, and that bridge was burned. Like Square Enix didn't hire them again for the Nier remake. Like, I wonder why. Like, there are all these red flags that, like, Microsoft won't finish Scalebound. The fucking executive, Inaba, like, you know how, like, a thought will, like, kind of, like, obviously kind of, like, come on to you? Like, she desperately wants your attention. Like, Inaba did that to Microsoft when they were buying studios. Like, Microsoft, Sama, we're available for purchase. Like, this motherfucker legit tried to get Microsoft to acquire PlatinumGames, but they didn't bite because they know Platinum is a train wreck. It's not worth acquiring. It's gonna go bankrupt, and whatever talent is left there is just gonna flee to other studios. I would not be surprised if that's what Nintendo wants. Is that like they want to flush out people who are ineffective and like kind of pick up like the remaining talent. Like I could see like I think they might have picked. I could see them picking up like the Astral Chain guy and having him work on like the sequel to Astral Chain 2, like with a Nintendo developed studio, like a Monolith Soft or something. Like, I could see that happening. I could see, like, Kamiya being kicked to the curb. I could see, like, Inaba being kicked to the curb. Fuck the executives. Fuck a lot of the talent. But, like, there were people there that were producing good action games. They're just not producing anything. So, what should have happened years and years ago is that these studios should have allowed themselves to be acquired. This studio should have allowed itself to be acquired by Nintendo. Like, none of this, like, oh, man, we want to develop for everything crap. Like, no. The only thing you've developed of value since the original Bayonetta has always been Nintendo exclusive. Astral Chain, Wonderful 101, and Star Fox Zero. Everything else was shit. So you really should have embraced that and become a Nintendo exclusive developer. Like, focusing on action games aimed at an older, more skilled demographic. People like me who have like hundreds of thousands of hours in all of this shit that Nintendo has produced over the years. Like, they should have like focused on like making games like that, like new Star Foxes, new Metroids, new F-Zeros. Like, Platinum could have done a great job with a lot of that in their heyday, but they rejected it. They could have made new IPs. Right? Like, Nintendo is the only company, I think, that they've ever worked with who have truly embraced their creativity and encouraged them to, like, do whatever they wanted. But, like, when it comes to, like, business matters, letting Platinum do what it wants is retarded. Like, completely ridiculous. Like, begging money for a Kickstarter money, having a Kickstarter campaign for a port of the Wonderful 101 was one of the most ridiculous things I think I've seen of that year. I had like a mental breakdown over it. It was one of like the most disgusting. That was the moment I lost all faith in Platinum, to be honest with you. There was no reason for that campaign to exist. And at the time, most people didn't agree with me. They were just like, I get to play Wonderful 101 on PC. And then nobody bought it on PC because, of course, they didn't. Like, the Wonderful 101 is just... PlatinumGames just... Why did they do this? Like, they're not a thing anymore. Like, they're not relevant. And... I think it's only a matter of time until the company folds. I really do. I don't think there's any recovery from this point. I think they'll probably release Bayonetta 3. It's probably not going to live up to expectations, and the company will fold. I fully expect that at this point, and honestly, I really, really want it to happen, because these fuckers deserve it.